Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Don Ma. Here are today's top stories. The death toll in Texas is over 50 as the state grapples with historic flooding. Governor Greg Abbott declaring this Sunday a day of prayer in Texas. Elon Musk makes a bold move announcing a new political party after President Trump signed the GOP budget bill. We have the latest on their escalating feud. Who are the winners and losers of the One Big Beautiful Bill? Will it be a boost to the U.S. economy? We speak with an economist. How can we get a better night's rest? Vital Signs' Brendan Fallon shares insights from a sleep medicine specialist who says we need to sync our inner body clocks to the outer rhythm of the day. 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested for spying on U.S. Navy bases and trying to recruit military personnel. We explore the national security angle with retired colonel and security expert Grant Newsham.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. The death toll has risen to at least 50 as Central Texas grapples with catastrophic flooding. Over 20 are missing. Here's more.
Rushing waters from the Guadalupe River swallowing roads. Its force knocking down trees as Central Texas is pummeled by historic rain, triggering flood emergencies.
It was definitely shocking to see it get that high.
The flooding began early Friday.
The event happened very fast. Rose over 20 feet, 30 feet within less than, a 2-hour time span.
Officials say several girls are still missing from the popular summer camp.
Will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event.
Hundreds have been rescued or evacuated since Friday, and many families are still desperately searching for loved ones, including Ty Baden, whose daughter and friends are missing.
We prayed that all 4 of them are still alive.
One of the worst hit areas is in Kerr County. This home swept away by the river. The fierce waters destroying several homes in Kerrville, including Scott Walden's.
Water got up there in the door about this high. And I looked at my wife and it was like, we need to get out of here.
On the 4th of July, President Trump signed a sweeping budget bill, capping off a week that also saw a major trade deal and a surprisingly strong jobs report. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the latest developments.
The One Big Beautiful Bill passed Congress this week, a sweeping tax and spending package pushed through after President Trump personally lobbied lawmakers day and night to enforce party unity.
The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries broke the record for the longest House floor speech, delivering hours of criticism.
Press on for the poor. Yes. Press on for the sick. Yes. Press on for the afflicted. Press on for the least. Press on for the lost.
The White House said the bill delivers tax cuts, energy dominance, school choice, and border security. Jeffries warned it would unleash a deportation machine on steroids.
Elon Musk taking his feud with President Trump to a new level. On Saturday, he announced on X the creation of a new political party called the America Party. Musk says the move is meant to give you back your freedom. Quote, he's also taking aim at Trump's big, beautiful tax bill, warning it could bankrupt the country. Musk created a poll on his social media platform on Independence Day asking users if a new party should be created. 65% of respondents said yes. He suggested on Saturday that his decision was brought about by those results. Musk says the America Party will give people back their freedom. In a reply to his own poll, Musk said the party could focus on 2 to 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. This way, they could be the deciding votes on contentious laws, given the, quote, razor-thin legislative margins. All right, joining us now to discuss the Big Beautiful Bill is political analyst Jeff Couer and professor of finance at Stockton University, Michael Busler. Good afternoon to you both. Jeff, let me start with you this afternoon. In your opinion, who are the winners of this bill?
Well, I mean, number one, it's President Trump. This was his signature policy. This is really the biggest piece of legislation that'll be passed in the first 2 years of his term. It would have really hampered Republicans' ability to win at the midterms if they couldn't deliver this. Under Biden, he got a lot of big pieces of legislation through during his first 2 years. And this is President Trump's time to do it. And the fact that he did it with such a small margin in the House and Senate is amazing. Without his personal lobbying, without his commitment to it, it would have never passed. So he deserves a lot of credit for this going through. And then, of course, we're going to see the benefits for the American people. I think they're going to be significant.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible how they got this bill passed before the July 4th deadline. Michael, let me talk to you. So the bill introduces new deductions for tips, overtime, car loans, and some Social Security income as well. How is it going to affect the middle class? Who are the winners?
So the winners of this bill are the American people. First of all, the American taxpayers. In 2018, Congress passed what we call the Trump tax cuts, which in my opinion were extremely fair. Every person paying taxes, they reduced their tax liability by 10%. So it's fair across the board, everybody treated the same. Those tax cuts would have expired at the end of this year had they not been extended, which means everybody's taxes would have gone up by 10%, but they were extended. In addition to that, low-income people like hospitality workers who rely on tips for income, they'll now be able to get those tips tax-free. If people decide to work overtime, and a lot of people refrain from working overtime because the higher income pushes you into a higher tax bracket. Now the overtime pay will be tax-free. Social Security recipients, 90% of them pay less than $6,000 a year in taxes now. As a result of this bill, they won't pay anything in taxes. Also, people who are on Medicaid will benefit by this bill. Now, why do I say that? Everybody says exactly the opposite. There are 70 million people collecting Medicaid, 70 million people collecting Medicaid. When President Trump hired Elon Musk to form Doge, Elon said, look, there's about 10 million people who are not eligible to collect or who are collecting, but they're physically able to work. So this new bill says if you're not eligible to collect, we're not going to allow you to collect anymore. And if you are physically and mentally able to work, you've got to work at least 20 hours a week. Suppose you can't find a job, then you can do volunteer work for 20 hours a week. So what it will mean is for the 60 million people who are eligible for Medicaid, the program is now protected. We're getting rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse in that program. In addition, the debt ceiling, we're just about to hit the debt ceiling, which typically causes a crisis. We shut down the government back in 2011 because we couldn't come up with a compromise. That is now raised. So that's good for everyone. There's money in there to build the border wall. The last 4 years, some number, millions of illegals have come into the country. Now that's going to stop. You have to come into the country legally. So this bill really benefits the American public in so many ways, and that's why I'm glad that it was passed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it touches on so many aspects, right? That's why they call it the big, beautiful bill. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts? What do you think is the biggest impact of this bill?
Well, I mean, the professor just spent a few minutes outlining pretty much everything, but I would say the biggest aspects, of course, are the tax cuts. We can't raise taxes on the American people, and that's why I think the economists that say that this is going to increase the debt are wrong, because whenever we cut taxes, and we've seen it, Kennedy, Reagan, Bush, Trump, more revenue comes into the government. I mean, we incentivize people to work harder and to be more productive, and revenue increases for the federal government. So that's a big factor in it. I'd like to focus a little bit on the security angle of this bill, because under President Trump, we've pretty much shut down border incursions. And this bill is going to promote more funding for the Border Patrol, for the border wall, which I think is absolutely essential. We can't lose the progress that we've made under President Trump. We have to continue to enhance border security because, remember, under Biden, 20 million illegals came in here. We're still dealing with the problem of deportations. This bill is going to add more to ICE, which is incredibly important. We've got 7,000 ICE agents, and we've got tens of millions of illegals that are here. So we need more ICE agents. We need more Border Patrol. And finally, I would just say the Golden Dome. This is a vision that Ronald Reagan had back in the 1980s. They derisively called it Star Wars. Of course, it was a strategic defense initiative. The technology wasn't there back in the 80s. Today, we do have the technology for this. So we've got rogue actors out there that could get their hands on a nuclear weapon. This is a way to protect the American people from attack. I mean, Israel is protected. Other countries are protected. The most advanced military in the world should protect their people. So that's why I think the Golden Dome is another aspect of this bill that is fabulous. So, I mean, overall, the American people win because of the economic and security benefits of the bill.
So, Michael, Jeff raised a couple of points there, and I think one of them you could directly comment on is, what do you think about this bill potentially adding trillions of dollars to the deficit, according to the Congressional Budget Office?
So the Congressional Budget Office is virtually never right about anything, and I don't agree with them at all. I think this is going to reduce the deficit over time. Look at the big picture for a minute. We have a severe problem with government spending. In 2019, the federal government spent $4.5 trillion. This year, they're going to spend $7.3 trillion. Tax revenue has gone up every year, but it hasn't gone up nearly fast enough to cover all that. So we have to reduce government spending. Now, they reduced it the best that they could and still get a majority. Why is Elon Musk so upset? He spent all that time looking at all the waste, fraud, and abuse in government spending. He found hundreds of billions, almost $1 trillion, that were waste, fraud, and abuse spent every year. So he said, we have to cut that. So the Republicans tried to cut that. The problem is every politician says we have to cut government spending. We have a problem. We have to cut government spending. But they say, as long as the spending cuts don't affect me or any of my constituents. So what happened was we had all those spending cuts, and some senators and members of the House said, we're not going to vote for that. It's going to hurt my constituents. So we had to start paring all that down. We ended up with just a small decrease in government spending, and Elon Musk got so mad at that, he's ready to start a new political party. And I understand his anger. As a free market economist and a fiscal conservative, I would love to see spending go way down. Politically, it just isn't going to happen. So the Trump administration and working with Congress got the best they could. It's the first step in reducing government spending. A lot of people are angry, as Musk is, that it hasn't been reduced enough. And as I say, so am I. Ronald Reagan used to say at a time like this, half a loaf of bread is better than nothing. So
can I interject here for a second? The professor.
All right. We just have 30 seconds, so make it quick.
Yeah, he was talking about Elon Musk, and let me tell you the real reason Elon Musk is opposed to this. He's opposed to this because the EV credits were removed. I mean, the electric vehicles should compete in a marketplace where there's no benefit to electric vehicles over others. It should be a fair, competitive environment. If people want to buy EVs, let them buy EVs, but we shouldn't incentivize EVs and not other vehicles. So he's upset that that was removed. Now we're going to have a level playing field. People are going to buy whatever vehicle they want. If they want to buy EV, great. It's going to hurt Tesla, and that's why he's upset. And that's why I think he's trying to start his own party, which is another interesting story as to how that's going to work out. But my prediction is going to take more from Democrats than Republicans.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Appreciate talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, coming up, deadly firework explosions rock California with blasts in multiple cities, leaving at least 2 dead and several injured. And leaders of the BRICS coalition are meeting in Brazil, and U.S. tariffs implemented President Trump are on the agenda. What could it mean for global relations? NTD's Arian Pastor joins us live after the break.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Deadly fireworks explosions hit California this week with blasts in different locations, leaving multiple injured and at least 2 dead. Officials are warning about the dangers as investigations continue. Here's more.
From Yolo County to Simi Valley and the Los Angeles neighborhood Pacoima, firework detonations this week have turned deadly.
Nobody has called us, nobody has texted us, nobody has nothing, no information.
Yolo County authorities say 7 people are missing after Tuesday's blast at a fireworks warehouse.
We must ask for your patience. We cannot move forward and risk any more injury to anyone else on this scene.
California officials say the fireworks warehouse managed by the company Devastating Pyrotechnics was too dangerous to immediately enter because of lingering unignited fireworks. 2 people were treated for injuries. Officials said the cause of the explosion was under investigation. In Simi Valley, California, police say 1 person is dead after fireworks exploded in a garage on the eve of the 4th of July holiday. In Los Angeles, fire department officials are investigating another fireworks incident in Pacoima.
It's burning with fireworks.
It's burning with fireworks.
1 man was found dead, at least 5 others injured, and 4 homes damaged. Los Angeles City Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez put out a statement that reads in part, "The selfish and thoughtless use of fireworks are not harmless. They can be deadly and cause irreparable harm." In Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
Members of the BRICS coalition are in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil today for a two-day meeting. Among other things, they're expected to discuss tariffs imposed by President Trump. Let's bring in our international correspondent, Arian Pazdar, live now from Brazil. Arian, good to see you. What's on the agenda at this summit, and how is BRICS reacting to the import duties President Trump announced shortly after he returned to office?
Hey Don, good to see you. Thank you for having me. So yeah, Trump's import tariffs. Well, to make it short, BRICS members, they don't like the tariffs and they're expected to discuss them at the summit today and tomorrow. They released a memo ahead of the summit which reads that we voice serious concerns about the rise of unilateral and non-tariff measures which distort trade and are inconsistent with World Trade Organization rules. Now, honestly, I think BRICS members will use the tariffs as an excuse to distance themselves even further from the US dollar, as they have done before. BRICS members have long said that they want to get rid of the dollar as the global reserve currency. And just yesterday, Brazil's President Lula da Silva said that he wants to restructure the global finance architecture. Let's take a look.
It is up to emerging nations to defend the multilateral trade model and reform the international financial architecture. BRICS remains the guarantor of a promising future.
So there you go. I think those are the things we can look out for during this summit. First of all, how BRICS members will react to Trump's tariffs, and then also how they will react to the global economic situation in general. Don.
So, Arian, speaking of global leaders, Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping is not attending the summit, right? Is that normal? And do we have any idea why he's not attending?
Yeah, Don, a great question. No, that's not common at all. Since he took power 13 years ago, Xi has never missed a single BRICS summit. So for him to miss this one, I think is pretty significant. Now, we don't know for sure why he's not attending. The CCP says his schedule doesn't allow it, which I think doesn't seem plausible at all, given that he never missed a summit. Now, there are possible reasons for his absence. One is that BRICS might not be as robust as it seems from the outside. We just talked about trade. Brazil and Indonesia just recently imposed tariffs on China. So they point the finger at the US, while at the same time imposing sanctions, or not sanctions, but tariffs on each other. So that's one thing. Also, China and India have basically been at war with each other for years now because they have border conflicts up in the mountains in the Himalayas. So some say that BRICS could even collapse in the future because they don't seem to actually like each other. In comparison, Don, you don't see G7 members actively fighting with each other. Sure, there might be disagreements, but no actual violence. Don?
So, I mean, Xi is actually sending a representative instead of going himself. Does that signal that Xi might not have as much power as he used to? Given that he himself isn't actually attending one of the most important summits?
That's correct. He's sending Premier Li Qiang instead. And just recently, General Mike Flynn took to social media, writing, "There is clearly a power shift occurring in China. China watchers need to keep a close eye on the loss of confidence by key members of the CCP." Now, the public has been noticing signs of loss of power from Xi's side for a year now. That's when top military officials in Beijing were purged or disappeared. So that's one thing. Another thing is that just a month ago, Xi himself disappeared from the public eye for about 2 weeks without any explanation at all, which is not common for him. And then third, which tops it all off, is that just this week, the People's Daily, which is literally a propaganda mouthpiece for Beijing, they published a tribute to a former politician who was a political opponent of Xi. So for the for the propaganda mouthpiece of Beijing to post, to publish something like that, it does carry some weight. So those are all reasons for why some say they have been noticing that Xi might not be as powerful as he seems to be. Don?
Okay, Arian, thank you very much for the update. Meanwhile, 2 Chinese nationals were arrested Tuesday for spying on U.S. Navy bases and attempting to recruit military personnel for China's intelligence agency. That's according to the Justice Department. NTD spoke to retired Colonel Grant Newsham about what this means for U.S. national security. Tell us, what do you think could China be gaining from detailed personnel information from Navy recruitment centers?
Well, it gives you targeting information so that you can potentially approach and recruit U.S. service members to provide you with secrets. This is the spying game. The Chinese do it on a scope and a scale that you can hardly imagine. But this is just one aspect of a very multi-front attack, espionage attack on the United States. There's no part of American society, economic, military, scientific, political, that isn't under attack by the Chinese communists. It's on a scale nobody's even dreamed of.
Okay, but talking specifically about this, what is actually in the naval base that may be of interest to Chinese intelligence?
Well, when you get into a naval base like these guys did, and like many other Chinese have done and tried to do, from Alaska down to Key West, Florida, trying to get onto U.S. bases, sometimes successfully. If you can take pictures of things, it helps the other guys' situational awareness, but also you look at ships, you see the radar arrays, you can see the way the weaponry exists, the way it's laid out. It all helps. It's pieces of a puzzle that allows an adversary to really understand that who he's fighting and what he has as well. If we could get into a Chinese base, I assure you that with the camera and some electronic equipment, our guys could pick up all sorts of useful stuff. This is what militaries want to do. They want the information, but here the Chinese are coming all out to get it. It may seem innocuous. The guy just comes on and takes a picture of the post exchange or something. And what's the big deal? Well, to a trained collector, you can make a lot of this, and it will give you an advantage that will allow you to defeat your enemy if the time comes to actually fight him.
Okay, but why are they, I mean, it looks like based on the DOJ complaint, it looks like these Chinese nationals were allegedly targeting lower level Navy recruits as opposed to targeting, higher level officers. Why is that?
Well, who's going to be more a vulnerable target? A guy making $1,500 a month or a guy making $8,000 a month? You want your new people who are fairly naive often. They don't make much money. And you'll find that in the cases where the Chinese have had some success, these are often people of Chinese origins, either immediate or in the past. And they're just helping the motherland, and they're getting money in return. And an E1 and E2, that's the very lowest ranks, sometimes they will have access to all the information. And we've seen that with some of the leaks during the global war on terror. These were very low-level service members who provided pretty close to the crown jewels on some occasions. So you always want to go after the most vulnerable person. And by definition, that's going to be a lower-ranking person. The Walker spy ring, for example, in the 80s that really gave the Russians all sorts of our submarine technology, that was really run by enlisted people. And it did immense harm to us. So this is just a fundamental of the intelligence business. You go after the most vulnerable people. Those are often the lowest ranking.
Okay, so Grant, I was looking into this and I saw a point that perhaps is a pattern that I've seen from elsewhere. Why is China interested in recruiting individuals with personal perhaps or cultural ties to China? For example, the Navy recruit, right, whose mother was Chinese.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's easier. You have an ethnic connection. You can appeal to it. You can appeal to their sort of sense of patriotism. They may not see themselves as completely American just yet. And that's actually a common argument you'd make or claim, or sort of a way to persuade, is you're just helping, your motherland. It's not a big deal. And it works. And also it's easier to communicate. If they're speaking Chinese, they may have family members who will persuade them. Excuse me, they may have family members back in China that can be pressured. And keep in mind that the Chinese passed a national intelligence law in 2017 or so that requires every Chinese person everywhere to cooperate with the Ministry of State Security. on matters of intelligence collection. So you can't really say no. But you naturally want to go after somebody that's an easier target. Where you have an ethnic connection, it's much, much easier.
How common is it for Chinese intelligence to cultivate operatives over multiple years and then activate them?
Oh, it's incredibly common. As I said, the scale of what they do is just unbelievable. For example, we might have, say, 5 case officers to put onto a target. The Chinese would have 500. They operate everywhere, and they go after every single imaginable target. And this is something that's hard for us to sort of wrap our head around, because we tend to take a very low-focused view, almost a very narrow view about what we're going after. So the Chinese is like a giant vacuum cleaner. They have the time, the resources, the money to put into it, and they do.
Okay, I'll just ask you one more thing. I was watching that interview with Trump on Fox News the other day, and President Trump was asked about China's cyber attack and hacking activities. I don't know if you saw that interview. And then Trump responded saying something like the U.S., we're doing the same to China. So while I have you here, what do you make of that?
Well, I hope we are. I'm not sure that we are. The Chinese have been immensely successful at getting into our networks, our critical infrastructure, getting into everything, as from C-17 blueprints to AI technology, or our most sophisticated submarine technology. They've been able to get into all of that. As I said, I hope we can, but excuse me, you always wonder if we actually can. Obviously, hubris will get you in a lot of trouble, but I wouldn't underestimate the Chinese.
Well, all right, Grant, thank you very much for your time today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And that interview was from earlier in the week. You can watch the full one on ntd.com. Coming up, how can we get a better night's rest? Vital Signs' Brandon Fallon shares insights from a sleep medicine specialist who says we need to sync our inner body clocks to the outer rhythm of the day. Stay tuned.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-360-7824.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy?
Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3.
Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health.
Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
And welcome back to NTD. I'm joined in studio now by NTD health correspondent and host of Epoch TV's Vital Signs, Brendan Fallon. So Vital Signs zooms in on important aspects of health that influence our lives. So Brandon, it's always good to see you. Talk to us about what you have for us today.
Great to see you, Don. Yeah, Shakespeare quoted the balm of hurt, pain, and the chief nourisher in life's feast, sleep. And the problem is many of us are just not getting enough of it. So I spoke to a doctor, he's a sleep medicine specialist, and he was saying that it's not necessarily a complicated problem. Often it's just that our body is not ready to go to sleep when we want to go to sleep. And then we start to feel this anxiety about that, and then that may compound the situation. And the answer may lie in moving our body clock in the right direction to be able to sleep better. And there are certain things that influence the body clock. And this is the first soundbite we have from Dr. Schwelt talking about these things that can influence the body clock to sleep better.
What is an out or an external effect on the human body that would affect circadian rhythm and therefore sleep? And light is the most powerful Zeitgeber. There are other Zeitgebers, things that affect our circadian rhythm, like when it is time to eat, other social cues, activity. These things all enter in and tell the body, what time of day it is, and therefore what part of the circadian rhythm should we be in. But light, by large the part, is the most powerful one. And we know that now physiologically why that's the case, because we have neurons at the back, photosensors at the back of our retina that go directly onto the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is exactly where the circadian rhythm sits. And so when you are having light coming into the eyes, perhaps if you're up on your computer at night and you're working on something as opposed to just writing things down in a dimly lit room, that light is going to really impact the cycle of the circadian rhythm. So think about this. This is actually hardwired in. This is not a learned type of situation. The circadian rhythm is looking for inputs from the external environment to decide to make sure that it is synchronized, the internal clock with the external clock. And we're going to see this over and over again. And when it sees light coming into the eyes during a period of the circadian rhythm, when it's determined that it's nighttime, that's a major red flag for the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And what it determines is that it's decided that it must have brought on sleep, or the nighttime portion of the circadian rhythm inside the body, too early. Why do I say that? Well, it's seeing that light is coming in from the outside, and the natural conclusion based on how the circuits are designed is that if there's light coming in, it must be day. And if it's saying that it's night, it must be too early. And therefore, what light has the effect on towards the end of the day is that it delays the circadian rhythm.
That's interesting. So he's talking about actually influencing the body's clock without using meds, right? That's always a plus. I mean, I'm sure everybody's different. I'm wondering if you have any personal experiences in this subject.
I think over the years, I've kind of intuitively had a feeling about this, because nowadays I'll go into my cave more or less at nighttime. I get the lights pretty low at nighttime. I'm really avoiding using devices, and I will definitely prefer, if I do have to do any work, I'd rather be writing just with pen and paper than having a screen like and the radiation, the blue light radiation, etc., that's kind of hitting my eyes. Because I get a better sleep from that. I've noticed that I'm sleeping better now than years back when I wasn't disciplined in this way. How about you?
Well, I'm actually the opposite. I actually find watching my phone for a little bit before going to bed, that actually helps me feel sleepy. So when I'm watching a video, that actually helps me want to sleep while watching the video. So I guess we're polar opposites on this subject, but you do have another clip for us from Dr. Schwalt. Would you like to introduce that?
Sure, Don. And this is Dr. Schwalt is talking specifically about how we can kind of use light a bit to influence the circadian rhythm, and gives the prime example of the morning sun.
I think the majority of the patients, though, out there, the majority of the issues out there are people that have delayed circadian rhythms, people that are going to bed later, and they would rather like to go to bed earlier. And one of the major symptoms of that is sleep onset insomnia, so not being able to fall asleep very quickly. And one of the things I would highly recommend in those patients is to expose their eyes to bright morning light exposure. It's not enough just to turn the lights on in the house, because we're talking about early in the morning. The best way to make an effective change in that situation is to get outside. That's where the light is the brightest. That's where you're going to have the most effect. And it needs to be done early in the morning. You do that early in the morning, even though it's so far away from that night's going to bed episode, there actually is an effect where bright morning light exposure is going to help you tremendously in the evening. Maybe tremendously is too much of a word, but it's going to significantly help based on the data to have you have a much better night of sleeping that night. And the reason, again, is because it is synchronizing your circadian rhythm, number one. And number two, it is also going to cause there to be more melatonin at night and more cortisol early in the morning. And it's also, finally, going to advance your circadian rhythm. And that's the key. Advancing that circadian rhythm back from 1 o'clock in the morning to 12 and 11 and 10 over the week that you do this, you're going to notice that you're going to be able to fall asleep much more easily, and you're going to have a much better night's sleep.
So Brandon, this point about early morning light leading to melanin being produced before bedtime when it's needed, what do you think about that?
I think this really reveals how extraordinary the body is, and it's a hopeful message for people dealing with sleep problems, because you can do these easy things to influence it. And melatonin, people take supplements for melatonin to sleep better, but you don't necessarily need to do that. And people can end up taking too much, or it actually ends up being counter-effective. Dr. Schwalt talks about that in this full video. And by getting that morning burst of sunlight, your body's going to be making the serotonin, the melatonin, before you go to bed when you need it. So you're going to feel tired when you're supposed to feel tired.
Right, I think a lot of people will benefit from watching this interview that you did with Dr. Schwalt. Speaking of which, if you want to see the full Vital Signs interview with Dr. Schwalt, just go to your browser and enter ept.ms/optimize-sleep. All right, coming up after the break, this Independence Day, we hear from a Navy veteran on what the holiday means to him, why he served, and his mission to bring hope to others. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Focus on beauty, showcase nature, share kindness, feel brightness. 2025, the 5th NTD International Photography Competition. Capture the beautiful moments in your eyes. Your works will be showcased in galleries and on multiple online platforms, appreciated and collected. Please visit photo.ntdtv.com.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. and I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Big things are happening at Mathis Home. Their everyday low prices are now even better. Shop Price Drop Alerts and save up to 25% off store-wide. Shop the latest looks in dining rooms, all at big savings. This set is a great deal, perfect for family get-togethers. You get the table and 4 side chairs for just $7.99 in your choice of finishes. They have over 100 dining sets in stock with fast and free delivery. Look for Price Drop Alert tags and save now at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
For many, Independence Day is a time to reflect on service and sacrifice. Earlier, I spoke with Navy veteran Kirk Offel, founder and CEO of Overwatch Mission Critical, about what the holiday means to him, why he served, and his work with the Anchors of Hope campaign. Take a look.
I had the benefit of growing up as the youngest of a bunch of boys. My father was career military. Every man in my lineage is former military, and I myself was able to enlist in the military at an early age, where I found myself in the submarine community, the fast attack submarine community would be more specific. So I got a chance to work around some of the most advanced weapons and machinery and technology ever built. But I also got to be a part of this surrounding the veteran community my whole life. So the military is what's in our family blood. It's our family business.
And Kirk, perhaps I think that you have a more unique view of this holiday, perhaps compared to regular Americans who have not served. What does independence mean to you, Independence Day?
Yeah, I think like everybody, I grew up thinking that the 4th of July, the celebration of our independence, was the celebration of freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of anything beyond that. But if you think about it, the first industrial revolution started in 1760, which was 6 years before the birth of our nation. So when you think about these industrial revolutions, the war was the American Revolution. And since the beginning of our first industrial revolution to the American Revolution, we are now sitting in a time of what's called the 5th industrial revolution. And it's a time where there's a lot of demand on technology, and people that have served in the military have a lot to offer and a lot of value they could bring to the industry that's demanding talent to service the ability to deploy more technology.
And can you go into the core of this day? Why is it important? Why should this day continue? And why does it matter for everyday average Americans?
Listen, the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence, the beginning of freedom, it led to revolutions of lives. And what I do is I try to use it and apply it to what we do now in society. We went through a first industrial revolution. It created what we have today as modern economies. We discovered power, steam engines. The second industrial revolution, we harvest AC and DC power as well as an automobile. We've had wars throughout all these times, but the independence of our nation and the revolutions that always followed have been a big part of the fabric of our society. So I've got to watch us go from the second industrial revolution and then a large break between that and the third. And every time that we had an industrial revolution, there was an iteration of some sort of combat that one generation had to endure. And it all started with what happened in the birth of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, signing our freedoms, and then ending the American Revolution and beginning the revolutions of technology that have really had the most profound impact on humanity since we've all started as a nation.
So Kirk, on that note, can you tell us about the Anchors of Hope campaign and why does Overwatch Mission Critical relaunch it every year on D-Day's anniversary?
Yeah, thanks for asking the question. So I work for a technology incubator of labor. The only thing that we do is provide staff augmentation as a service, and it's a very complicated service. What we've learned is people that have been in the military come from the most advanced training in weapons, machinery, technology, and leadership. In the industry that I get to function in today is called mission critical, and it's also known as the data center industry. So what we know is the data center industry is short hundreds of thousands of people because the adoption rate of emerging technology. So we consumers demand technology. We have to go build these AI farms, these data centers, the sky for the cloud, the home for AI. We have to go build that with labor. And there's a lot of transitioning veterans coming out of the military with a lot of skill sets. This technology platform allows them to come into a brand new industry that's still emerging. What 2025 is for AI is what 1925 was for the automobile industry. And we were still building Model Ts until 1927, because in 1925, the automobile industry began to boom. Here we are 100 years later, and this industry that hasn't emerged in the mainstream yet is about to boom. And it's called mission critical. It's also called data centers. And it's going to build back so much opportunity for growth as a nation. It'll rebuild the entire middle class with brand new jobs. The best people that come out of the military, which 85% of are considered blue collar, are the people that have the exact skill set from leadership training and technology to enter a workforce like what we have. So we started Anchors of Hope on January 6th, the 80th anniversary of D-Day is when we began. And it's because we ran this campaign from D-Day to Patriots Day, also known as September 11th. And in that time frame, we were just simply trying to raise the awareness for this two incredible things that are taking place. There's pent-up demand for talent in the data center industry, which is emerging as a mainstream vertical industry, because now everyone knows what AI is. And now we are going to start pursuing jobs in this AI sector, which no colleges have created curriculum for yet. So we're building back this middle class opportunity with these jobs, and veterans transition out of the military, which are sometimes the highest level of risk for having served so much in our country's nation's honor and fighting in combat. We have to have some place where we can park their skills, their emotional range skills, their technology skills into an industry of significance that they could actually drive more change into. So Anchors of Hope is a campaign that runs from D-Day to Patriots Day. And it's just another push that we make out to the market and saying, hey, listen, everybody needs talent, but there are veterans coming out of the military every month that have the skills that you need and the emotional range that you need and the leadership courage that you need to help bring value to your company.
Also, do you see hiring veterans, first responders, and military spouses as, would you characterize that as patriotic gestures?
Yeah, I think that if we can, the real heroes are the families and the spouses of those that serve in active duty. The active duty are the ones that are out there holding the oath and preparing to do anything up to and including the cost of their own lives to defend us. And those first responders are no different. And I think that one of the best things we could do is we could take, you have to remember, those people that became first responders or the people that joined the military, they did not do it to make money. They did it to make a difference. And I think that when they come out of the military, they come out of the first responders, what they want is they want to have an opportunity to do something that fulfills them with their purpose. They want to make a difference. And I think the most patriotic thing we could do is offer these incredible heroes the opportunity to honor and serve this industry with the same level of dignity they did when they were still wearing a uniform and active duty. They need to understand that if they've served this country, there's so many things that they've learned that would bring value to any aspect of the civilian community. So I do think it's the one way that we can honor them is by offering the opportunity to be a part of something significant again.
Well, Kirk, thank you so much. That's our time today. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
It was an honor. Thank you so much.
It's been almost 6 months since the fierce Los Angeles wildfires killed 30 people and destroyed nearly 12,000 homes. Now, one resident lives alone in his Altadena neighborhood. He sleeps in a recreational vehicle surrounded by empty lots that were once the site of family homes. Here's his story.
Terry Kilgore of Altadena, California, lost some of his most prized possessions in the devastating Eaton fire 6 months ago. His guitars. The musician, who once toured with former Van Halen frontman David Lee Roth, said he was able to save 5 guitars that he grabbed on his way out the door to evacuate. Now, the 70-year-old plays them passionately in an RV on the property where his home once stood.
I don't like RVs. I don't want to live in one. But at this point in time, that thing's a godsend because it would either be that or some low-rent tomb downtown.
6 months after wildfires laid waste to the eastern and western flanks of Los Angeles, Kilgore is still surrounded by empty lots where family homes burned to the ground.
You would never know it because it was pretty here, and it just doesn't. It's never going to be pretty like it was.
He's just one of the area's survivors coping with the disaster as the arduous rebuilding effort continues.
The place I grew up is gone forever. It's a memory. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I mean, there's a few survivors, but I know a lot of good people that really got hurt here. They got hurt.
Kilgore says he's trying to make the best of the situation.
This is the hard part, cold water shaving. If you lived up here, whether you paid rent or not, you're still part of the trauma. It was very traumatic.
The fires, which broke out on January 7th, killed 22 people, destroyed nearly 12,000 homes, and caused an estimated $24 to nearly $54 billion in property damage alone. That's according to a report by the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation. Progress in rebuilding has exceeded initial expectations, according to LA city and county officials. A spokesperson for LA Mayor Karen Bass said about 75% of the roughly 4,400 residential lots destroyed or severely damaged in the city have been cleared of debris and are certified for rebuilding.
Good enough for government work? What a mess.
Still, many homeowners, including Kilgore, have complaints about the process.
You hear this noise here? How do you sleep through that shit? And listen, they're moving away from us, but we had dump trucks and cranes. There's no sleeping here in the early day. And I'm a night owl, so I can't stop. Actually, my best energy is at night. It's like the sun's not on because it gets warm up here. What I'm going to happen to this place, I don't know. I may have to sell it. I'm going to get a settlement. If the settlement's really good, I'll sell it. If the settlement's really bad, I'll sell it. It looks like I'm going to sell.
While Kilgore said he'll likely sell his property, he certainly isn't giving up on music. He said his main goal is to re-record all his original music that was lost in the fire.
Coming up, the big beautiful bill is taking fire over Medicaid cuts. Critics warn it leaves Americans vulnerable, while supporters call it fiscal responsibility. Dr. Josh McCooney breaks it down. Stay with us.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
There is a road laid out for me.
boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I think you're really gonna like it. I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waist down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know
Okay.
if I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Don Ma. Here are today's top stories. The death toll in Texas is over 50 as the state grapples with historic flooding. Governor Greg Abbott declaring this Sunday a day of prayer in Texas. Elon Musk makes a bold move announcing a new political party after President Trump signed the GOP budget bill. We have the latest on their escalating feud. How will President Trump's big, beautiful bill impact various sectors of the U.S. economy? We speak with a financial strategist who's also a policy expert. Leaders of the BRICS coalition are meeting in Brazil, and U.S. tariffs implemented by President Trump are on the agenda. What could it mean for global relations? NTD's Arian Pastor joins us live to discuss. And is the American dream changing? Families are swapping big homes and hustle culture for freedom, flexibility, and happiness. We'll hear from financial expert Lawrence Sprong on what's driving this shift.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for staying with us. The death toll has risen to at least 50 as Central Texas grapples with catastrophic flooding. Over 20 are missing. Here's more.
Rushing waters from the Guadalupe River swallowing roads. Its force knocking down trees as Central Texas is pummeled by historic rain, triggering flood emergencies.
It was definitely shocking to see it get that high.
The flooding began early Friday.
The event happened very fast. Rose over 20 feet, 30 feet within less than, a 2-hour time span.
Officials say several girls are still missing from the popular summer camp.
We'll be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event.
Hundreds have been rescued or evacuated since Friday, and many families are still desperately searching for loved ones, including Ty Baden, whose daughter and friends are missing.
We pray that all 4 of them are still alive.
One of the worst hit areas is in Kerr County. This home swept away by the river. The fierce waters destroying several homes in Kerrville, including Scott Walden's.
Water got up there in the door about this high. And I looked at my wife and it was like, we need to get out of here.
On the 4th of July, President Trump signed a sweeping budget bill, capping off a week that also saw a major trade deal and a surprisingly strong job support. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the latest developments.
The One Big Beautiful Bill passed Congress this week, a sweeping tax and spending package pushed through after President Trump personally lobbied lawmakers day and night to enforce party unity.
The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries broke the record for the longest House floor speech, delivering hours of criticism.
Press on for the poor. Yes. Press on for the sick. Yes. Press on for the afflicted. Press on for the least. Press on for the lost.
The White House said the bill delivers tax cuts, energy dominance, school choice, and border security. Jeffries warned it would unleash a deportation machine on steroids.
The big, beautiful bill is taking fire over Medicaid cuts, with critics warning it could hurt vulnerable Americans. But supporters say it's about controlling costs. NTD's Carrie Dunst spoke with Dr. Josh McConkey, a former Air Force colonel and author on What's at Stake. Here's a look.
Now, as an ER doctor, I wonder if you could give some examples or observations about the hope is that you can cut costs and improve service, through better administration and better systems. Is that possible? And might you have any insight into how that might be achieved?
Well, I've practiced medicine for over 20 years. I was a Duke professor, and I can certainly tell you there's lots of waste within the system. I think having some very simple stopgap measures, this $50 billion that they've set aside has a huge impact. In my home state of North Carolina, there's many hospital systems that rely on some of those funds. In more rural hospitals, we've had some closures as well. So this $50 billion additional dollars is definitely going to help that and help maintain that access to care. But there will be some loss of coverage.
And can you go a little deeper as to why this potentially affects rural hospitals more than other places in either urban or suburban areas?
Well, you'll see in more rural areas, there tends to be higher utilization rates of Medicare and Medicaid, just aging populations. I came from a very rural small town myself. There's more cows than people where I grew up. And those rural critical access hospitals are incredibly important to not only just access to care, but they're usually the major employer of those regions as well.
Now, I wanted to get your take on the MAHA movement. It seems like a lot of those goals, if you were to summarize them, try to focus on lifestyle and prevention as a way to target root causes of Americans' poor health. And frequently, America ranks among the worst when you consider how much of our GDP goes toward healthcare, to what our outcomes are. But the benefits from that prevention initiative, it's going to take a long time for that to kick in. So, what needs to happen to transition from these cuts? How will these cuts affect things in the short term, while hopefully the long-term effects of MAHA start to bear fruit?
So I think if you put it in terms that people can understand, when you talk about the Make America Healthy Again initiative, right now they've just put Band-Aids on things. So the Titanic is clearly sinking, the Titanic being our healthcare system. Now they're throwing out some life preservers out there and medications and just putting Band-Aids on this, but they're not addressing the actual problems, those root causes of why the Titanic is sinking. And when you talk about some long-term health initiatives, weight loss, diabetes management, just diet and exercise, removing those chemicals from our foods and those food dyes, those will have an impact. It's going to be a long-term race for that. But in the short term, there's a few things that are being addressed in this bill specifically that will help maintain access to care.
And as we finish up, can you call out a few of those things that you think will have that sort of stopgap effect?
Well, right, having some of those work requirements as well, there's going to be some saving of over $325 billion over the next 10 years or so, just having people that are able to work. So there's no impact on women with children if you've got a disability, or they say, I'm a veteran as well, so disabled veterans, there's no impact on their access to care. But if you're a 20-year-old male who's clearly able to work, you're going to have to work 80 hours per month. And that's going to help offset some of those costs. And then just looking at parts of the bill with the no taxes on tips and overtime, I mean, that's a huge impact. We have over 43% of Americans in this country have had a job where they've earned tips, myself included. And so those things are going to have a big impact on money and then access to care.
And, I know we're here to talk about Medicaid, but just one last question, since you brought it up, and I think it really deserves more exploration. You made this analogy to the Titanic is sinking. What do you see with your patients that really impacts them, that's not a result of some kind of intervention like a medication or a surgery? What are the lifestyle things that you see that really can be quite effective in reversing negative health outcomes?
So right now, just we're seeing the effects of bad policy from 3 and 4 years back. You've had an entire generation of Americans that have been shut out of school, shut out of churches, and shut out of their communities. And so there's a huge mental health crisis right now. I don't think anyone is debating that. But as an emergency physician, I see those end results of anxiety, depression, and suicide, and it rips my heart out. And that's one of the reasons I've been pushing so hard for people to get involved in their community. I've started a nonprofit organization and written the book. But what people do every single day matters, and we need people to volunteer and mentor and be teachers to this next generation. So that's what I see every day.
You caught me completely off guard. I thought you were going to say exercise and sleep, and you actually brought up something that's much more important societally and holistically. So thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Josh McConkey, thank you.
Thank you.
Elon Musk taking his feud with President Trump to a new level. On Saturday, he announced on X the creation of a new political party called the America Party. Musk says the move is meant to give you back your freedom. He's taking aim at Trump's big, beautiful bill, warning it could bankrupt the country. Musk created a poll on his social media platform on Independence Day asking users if a new party should be created. 65% of respondents said yes. He suggested on Saturday that his decision was brought about by those results. Musk says the America Party will give people back their freedom. In a reply to his own poll, Musk said the party could focus on 2 to 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. This way, they could be the deciding votes on contentious laws, given the, quote, razor-thin legislative margins. Just days before his tariff deadline, President Trump announced a new trade deal with Vietnam. Foreign affairs analyst Gerard Filitti joins NTD's Tiffany Meyer to explain how this deal fits into Trump's economic strategy and what it means for China. Let's take a look.
Gerard, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Now, President Trump has spoken about rebalancing the global economic playing field. How does this trade deal with Vietnam fit into that?
This is part of directing American trade relationships away from China, away from partners with whom we have disputes and with whom we are in debt arrears, and basically realigning with countries like Vietnam, with other countries in Southeast Asia that have been more reliable economic partners to the U.S. in terms of trade, in terms of reciprocal trade, and in terms of not imposing high barriers to U.S. companies wishing to do business there.
Now, expanding on that, Trump saying in a post on Truth Social that Vietnamese goods face a 20% tariff rate and 40% on transshipments. For example, Chinese goods first entering Vietnam, then heading to the U.S. to skirt those tariffs. Given that, how is Beijing likely viewing this deal?
I think Beijing is viewing this with a little bit of concern. During the pandemic, we've seen U.S. businesses shifting their manufacturing facilities away from China when China was closing its doors, basically, and not shipping things because the country closed its borders, closed its shipping. Vietnam was one of the countries that did more business with the United States. So were other countries in Southeast Asia. So Beijing is looking at this with concern. For Trump to have a deal with Vietnam signals that America is very interested in reopening, re-energizing business deals with countries other than China. And this poses a threat to China because America is one of its largest markets. And if it cannot sell its goods in America, then it faces current account deficits and the Chinese economy will continue doing poorly and will do even worse in the coming years.
And Gerard, with the tariffs and recent trade deals, how likely are we to see more reshoring, more made in America goods?
Well, I think we always want to see more reshoring and made in America goods. The issue is America has closed down a lot of its manufacturing capabilities over the last 3 or 4 decades. So bringing back a lot of industry to the United States is not an easy thing to do. However, we are likely to see foreign companies, including those in Vietnam even, starting to open affiliates or do business within the United States, which entitles them to use that made in the U.S. product on products that are actually made here. So we will see an increase in domestic manufacturing capacity, but it won't be the same as we used to have 30 or 40 years ago. Those manufacturing industries have long shifted away, and the likelihood of getting them all back is minimal. We will see an increase, but nowhere near what we would like to see.
And looking ahead a bit here, reports note that a deal with India could come as early as tomorrow. But as for Japan, Trump is indicating there might not be a deal. He told reporters on Air Force One on Tuesday about Japan, saying, quote, they and others are so spoiled from having ripped us off for 30 to 40 years that it's really hard for them to make a deal. Now, given Japan's history as a key trade and security partner to the U.S., How big of a deal would it be for there not to be a trade deal with Japan?
Well, I think we will actually see a trade deal with Japan, although it might take a little bit more time and the contours of that are to be defined. I think with Japan, the biggest issue are sectoral tariffs. And we see, for example, Japanese barriers to American cars coming into Japan are massive. And that's one sector where Japan could cede some ground without giving away some of the other defensive mechanisms it has for its economy. So I do think that we will see likely a deal with Japan in the coming months, but that will not be an overall deal with one simple tariff rate.
Coming up, leaders of the BRICS coalition are meeting in Brazil, and U.S. tariffs under President Trump are on the agenda. What could it mean for global relations? NTD's Arian Pasdar joins us live to discuss after the break. Which sectors of the U.S. economy will benefit from the big, beautiful bill, and which will be hurt? We speak with the financial strategist and policy expert in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer. And your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Members of the BRICS coalition are in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil today for a 2-day meeting. Among other things, they're expected to discuss import tariffs imposed by President Trump. Let's bring in our international correspondent now, Arian Pasdar, live from Brazil. Arian, what's on the agenda at this summit, and how is BRICS reacting to the import duties President Trump announced shortly after returning to the office?
Hey Don, good to see you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so the Trump's tariffs, they're big on the agenda this weekend or today and tomorrow because the BRICS members, most of them, they said that they don't like the import tariffs imposed by President Trump. So they're expected to talk a lot about that today and tomorrow. They also released a memo ahead of the summit which didn't directly address the United States, but I think it's a subtle hint. They say we voice serious concerns about the rise of unilateral tariff and non-tariff measures which distort trade and are inconsistent with World Trade Organization rules. That's what they say, right? But I think honestly, BRICS members might use Trump's tariffs to distance themselves even further from the US dollar, as they have been doing a lot. In the past, BRICS members often said that they want to get rid of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. And just yesterday, Brazilian President Lula da Silva said that he wants to restructure the global finance infrastructure. Let's take a look.
It is up to emerging nations to defend the multilateral trade model and reform the international financial architecture. BRICS remains the guarantor of a promising future.
So there you go. I think those are the things we can look out for during the summit. First of all, how the members will react to Trump's tariffs and how they will react to the global economic situation in general. Don.
And Arian, speaking of global leaders, Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping is not attending the summit, right? Is that normal? And do we have any idea why he's not attending?
Yeah, Don, great question. No, that's not normal at all. Look, Xi took power 13 years ago, and in all that time, he hasn't missed a single BRICS summit. So for him to miss this one is, I think, pretty, substantial. Now, we don't know for sure why he's not attending. The CCP says that his schedule doesn't allow it, which I think doesn't make much sense, given how important this summit is and given the fact that he has never missed a summit so far. Now, there are a few possibilities, a few possible reasons for his absence. One is that we just talked about trade, and I think BRICS might not be as robust as it seems to be from the outside. So we just talked about trade. Brazil and Indonesia previously considered imposing tariffs on China. So they point the finger at the US, but at the same time, they're imposing tariffs on each other. So that's one thing. Also, China is basically at war with India because they have border disputes in the mountains up in the Himalayas, right? So some say that the BRICS coalition could even collapse in the coming years because the members don't even seem to like each other. In contrast to that, Don, if you look at the G7 coalition, you don't see the members of the G7 fighting with each other. Sure, there might be disagreements and, verbal fights, but there is no actual violence. Don.
And Xi is now sending a representative instead of going himself. Does that signal that Xi might not have as much power as he used to, given that he isn't actually attending one of the most important summits?
Yeah, great question. That's right. He is sending Premier Li Qiang instead. And actually, just recently, General Mike Flynn took to social media and he wrote, and I quote, "There is clearly a power shift occurring in China," he says. "China watchers need to keep a close eye on the loss of confidence by key members of the CCP." Now, the public has noticed signs of Xi losing power for about a year now. That's first started when top military leaders in Beijing were purged or disappeared. So that's one thing. Another thing is that just a month ago, Xi himself disappeared from the public eye for about 2 weeks without any explanation at all, which is not common for him. And to top that all off, just this week, the People's Daily, which is literally a propaganda mouthpiece for Beijing, they published a tribute to a former politician who was a political opponent of Xi Jinping. So for China's propaganda mouthpiece to publish something like that does carry some weight. So those are all reasons for why some people say that Xi might not actually have as much power as he seems to have. Don.
All right, Arian, thanks for the report. And joining us now to discuss which sectors of the U.S. economy will benefit from the big, beautiful bill is financial strategist and policy expert Steve Cotton. He's the president of Cotton Wealth Management Associates. Good afternoon, Steve. I'd like to start off with manufacturing here. Is this bill a win for the sector? It looks like the bill is going to benefit companies perhaps like Caterpillar or John Deere because of the write-off, right, of the full cost of equipment right away in the bill.
Yes, I think that's correct. I think it will benefit all kinds of industries. If you just take the defense sector alone, there is a huge network of subcontractors and suppliers all throughout this country, basically in all 50 states, that stand to benefit from increases in investments in drone technology, AI, munitions, resurgence in munitions, resupply, command control communication, avionics. There's money in the bill for a revitalized military shipping industry. That's going to have hundreds of thousands of suppliers alone. So yes, I think there will be a lot of sectors, a lot of suppliers that will benefit from this, including small, minority, and women-owned businesses.
Okay, can you talk to us about that, these minority small businesses?
Well, in every procurement that the Pentagon does, they are required to make sure that there's a certain percentage of suppliers that they use that are categorized as minority and women-owned specifically. And this has had a checkered career. There are some suppliers in those categories that are better than others, but I think that a rising tide is going to lift all boats, and I think you're going to see a tremendous trickle-down effect to these kinds of companies as well as small businesses. And I don't think it's going to be about a couple of years. I think it will be a decade of impact.
Wow, a decade of impact. That is very significant. Yeah. What do you think about spurring investment in the economy or increasing job growth? Is it going to boost the U.S. GDP?
I think it will, and I think it will more significantly than people can project at this point. One of the benefits of the reauthorization of the 2017 Trump tax cuts from the first administration, having reauthorized that, it gives us certainty now. Businesses and individuals, for that matter, need certainty, need to know how to plan. And this stabilizes the tax environment, and that's a good thing. And now businesses will not be on the sidelines, but can go forward. They will invest. They will start hiring. The business problem is going to be not having enough workers to hire rather than a high unemployment. Unemployment's down to about 4.1, which historically is sort of considered full employment. But I think this measure is going to permit businesses to start to plan again and project and take risks and make investment. Ultimately, that's a job grower.
And Steve, let's not forget about the benefits from tax deductions on tips and overtime, right? Promises made, promises kept here. Talk to us about the sectors like hospitality and service.
Well, when you've got low-wage workers at the middle to the bottom of the economic scale, this kind of tax relief is huge. It will incentivize them to stay in those businesses and those jobs. It will incentivize other people who may want to get into that or have to get into that. It gives them badly needed relief. And this really is going to be tremendously impactful for two people. The employee who takes tips or it drives Ubers or whatever, and the employer who uses those workers. It will benefit both of them. It will actually create greater stability in these sectors, and that's a good thing.
And let's talk about the clean energy sector, too. I'm sure you're already aware the bill phases out tax credit for wind and solar. Is that going to be a hit to clean energy?
I think it will be. It will not be positive for clean energies. It will not be positive for the solar panel or the wind sectors. Currently, most of the electric batteries are actually made in China. So if there is a decrease in demand for EVs, that's going to affect not only the dealers here, but that'll affect our trading partner like China, and not in a good way. I'm not sure that we can measure the full impact on the green energy spaces yet, but I can't imagine that it will be positive.
Well, all right, Steve, that's our time today. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, Canada is ramping up security along the U.S. border with new drones and joint patrols. It's a move driven by President Trump's push to crack down on fentanyl and firearms smuggling. Could gas prices go up this summer due to the Iran-Israel conflict? We speak with David Holt from the Consumer Energy Alliance to break it down in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50-enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Canada is stepping up security along the world's longest border, investing in drones and expanding joint patrols with the U.S. It's part of a broader push by President Trump, who's calling for a crackdown on fentanyl and firearms trafficking. Here's the story.
We are at the Peace Bridge on the world's longest international border, more than 5,500 miles separating Canada and the U.S. by land and water. Here on the Niagara River between Fort Erie, Ontario and Buffalo, New York, joint patrols. Canadian and American law enforcement on the water, keeping an eye on both sides of the border.
And that is the U.S. Coast Guard ship. Now, the joint patrols between Canada and the United States, that's not new. What is new is the approach on the Canadian side of the border.
Since the new U.S. administration came into power, we have had a paradigm shift here in Canada in terms of our law enforcement posture. There's no question.
Canada is putting its money where its border is, $1 billion more, launching drones.
So it opens up a whole new world to us as far as detecting criminality.
Adding more radar and thermal imaging.
And what it's able to do is pick up heat signature.
A more robust presence everywhere. Why now? Call it the Trump effect.
The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive.
And so President Trump imposed punishing tariff. But Canada's own intelligence shows organized crime, including gangs from Mexico, are producing more fentanyl and other drugs in Canada for export to the United States and elsewhere, also expanding their footprint to launder money as well. Was the president onto something here?
The president and our government, I think it's safe to say, have agreed that we can do more collectively to secure the border. And we have regular members out to the border in uniform, on patrol, which is something, say, a year ago, we weren't doing.
Do you worry about what you don't find and seize?
Yeah, that's always a concern. And that's really where it comes down to working closely with our law enforcement partners.
From fentanyl to firearms, the Canada Border Services Agency says the president's scrutiny has led to more resources and intelligence sharing on all kinds of smuggling.
Check low. Got it, girl. Good job.
Canines like Quanta now trained to sniff out everything from drugs to guns.
While the world's longest border may still be undefended, on Trump's urging and threats, it is now better protected.
With the long holiday weekend underway, we take a look at the price of gas with David Holt, president of Consumer Energy Alliance. Thanks for joining us today, David. Many Americans, expect gas prices perhaps to hike this summer due to the Iran-Israel conflict, and yet prices have remained low, it seems like. Why is that?
It's great news. This is, as you said, a big holiday weekend. People are going to be in their cars driving all over the country, so it's great news. We have more money in our pocket. And it's largely because the United States is the number one oil producer and the number one natural gas producer in the world. So as this administration likes to say, we're really leveraging our homegrown energy. So when there is a global disruption in energy, like we've seen in the Middle East, in previous years, we've seen gasoline prices really go up because world oil prices go up. Not so much this year. In fact, gasoline prices, diesel prices, oil prices are actually coming down, and we expect them to come down even more. So this is really a good signal for United States consumers. Energy prices across the board are coming down. Inflation is coming down as a result. And that's largely because we're producing so much here in the United States, and we've relaxed some regulations that really needed to be relaxed as well.
Okay, on that point, David, so then how much would you say is the current price level thanks to U.S. production versus other factors like OPEC, for example, because OPEC is expected to increase oil production by over 400,000 barrels per day this August?
That's a great point. So as you know, oil is a global commodity. So anytime you have a supply disruption or a supply expansion, it does impact global prices. Because we're producing so much here in the United States, it impacts us less than it has in the past. But when OPEC is going to do, as they've announced, an increase in oil supply, that will further reduce the price of oil and reduce the price of gasoline and diesel as a result. So we're expecting gasoline and diesel prices to go down even more here in the United States in the coming months. Many states are already seeing prices under $3 a gallon. All this is great news for the U.S. consumer and U.S. family.
Okay, David, as well, can you comment on the supply and demand balance situation right now for oil? Is the market oversupplied right now?
We're in particularly with this OPEC announcement, that's something we're looking at. That obviously puts downward pressure on the price of gasoline, diesel, price of oil. So good for the consumer, but you want to make sure that the market is in balance and we're able to, recoup some of the costs of producing this oil in the United States. So that $60 per barrel mark is kind of that magic number that a lot of folks in the stock market look at and a lot of the energy companies look at.
And on the radar as well are U.S. trade deals with major economies like China, Canada, and potentially the EU. How do you see these trade agreements affecting oil demand and prices?
Canada is one we're watching a lot. We get a lot of energy from our friends in Canada. A lot of pipelines traverse the Canadian-U.S. border. A lot of refineries in the Midwest are optimized for Canadian crude oil. So any disruptions because of trade agreements, because of arguments between the United States and Canada, certainly could disrupt and send gasoline, diesel prices up a little higher. So that's something we really need to pay attention to. That's a great question.
Okay, just one last question, David. How sensitive would you say the global market is when it comes to geopolitics and other things happening that affects oil?
Well, traditionally, historically, oil has been very sensitive. The market tries to predict where it's going to go. Any disruption, any conflict, particularly in the Middle East, has historically always resulted in a big increase in the price of oil and therefore increase in the price of gasoline and diesel. We're seeing that less today because the United States is now increasingly dominant in our production of oil and natural gas. And in fact, we're number one in the production of oil and natural gas in the world. So because of our market positioning now, we're better able to help mollify global markets and particularly, keep markets here in the United States on an even keel.
Well, all right, David, it was great speaking to you today. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Meta's Facebook is now asking users to let AI scan their private photos, including the ones not shared publicly. NTD's Kevin Hogan spoke with Jeff Dornick, CEO of social media platform Pickaxe, for his take on what this means for privacy.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Facebook is now asking users to let Meta AI access photos on their phones, even ones they haven't publicly shared yet. From a free speech and privacy standpoint, what are the dangers of this kind of request?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of dangers. Right now, Meta is promising users that we're not going to use it for our overarching artificial intelligence. This is just to basically target you and help you with new filters, new features, and more customize your personal experience. The problem becomes that the language in the terms of service opens it up to where if and when they decide that they would like to take your photos that you have not actually published to Facebook or Instagram and then use it to train their centralized artificial intelligence that would apply to anybody and everybody, that they could do so with the stroke of a pen and actually just change their terms of service very, very quickly. And guess what? They already have access to your photos. So that's one of the big problems that we're facing right now, is that Meta is leaning very, very heavily, along with the rest of the big tech platforms, into developing their artificial intelligence program, and specifically because Facebook actually just invested $65 billion into developing their artificial intelligence specifically for creating AI-generated content creators and replacing human beings as influencers on their platform. So there's a lot of things happening at the same time right now with Facebook.
Very interesting, Jeff. How do platforms like Pickaxe, which emphasize free speech and user control, differ in handling user content compared to the giants like Meta?
Yeah, so we take a completely different approach. So what they're doing is they're actually taking our data and our thoughts and our content and then feeding into their AI to build up their technology so that way they can centralize the power, control the narratives, control everything. What we do is the complete opposite. We're using technology in order to build up humanity, human's voice, human beings. We're a human-to-human social media platform. And so by doing that, we're not collecting anybody's data. I can target ads without actually collecting data or stalking you like all the rest of the social media platforms do, but simply by focusing it on the content. And by doing that, I'm actually trying to give people back their voice. We're not building up a centralized artificial intelligence program. What I want to do is I want to hear what human beings think. And by doing so, I think we can create a great platform that's for anybody and everybody to actually get on there, share their opinions, share their voice, and know and rest assured that we're not using your content in order to build up some AI program which will ultimately eliminate you guys from basically being needed to be visible.
Thanks for telling us that. Now, Jeff, Meta says only the user can see the AI-generated suggestions and that the photos won't be used for ad targeting. But should users trust these assurances?
Well, like I've been saying, specifically right now, that would be accurate. The problem is that in the terms of service, if you actually go and look at it, they use very vague language that allows themselves down the road, when they decide that they're going to expand it beyond just yourself, that they can actually do so. And that's the problem, is that what they always do is they will say, look, right now, look, we're not doing anything right now. The question is, what are they going to do in 2 months, 6 months, a year down the road, after they've already conditioned you to basically allow them to have access to the photos in your photo roll, and then all of a sudden now they're going to begin to expand it into other arenas.
Well, how does this move by Facebook fit into broader trends around data privacy and the use of personal content by big tech companies?
It's a common trend, and each big tech company kind of has their own shtick when it comes to this. So obviously, Facebook is leaning heavily into creating AI generated content creators, and that's why they want access to photos, so that way they can have their own photo content creation artificial intelligence program. If you look at X, what they're doing is they're collecting all of our posts, and they're collecting that, and it's all going into Grok in order for it to be the most relevant, up to date AI on the planet, because they're getting information in real time on breaking news and all of that. Then you look at something like Google, where they're doing everything from using all the YouTube videos that are uploaded to YouTube, funneling it into their video creating AI, generator. And then that's why they're able to make such compelling videos using artificial intelligence, because they have access to all the videos that have been posted to YouTube. Google is also doing the same thing with search results, where they're actually taking all the content of blogs and articles, and they're funneling it into the AI, so that way they can give the search results. If somebody's asking a question in their Google search, they can give the results without anybody actually having to leave Google to actually click on somebody's site to get the information, essentially plagiarizing people's content. And so that way they can control the narrative, they can control the revenue. There's a lot of problems with this, and what's happening is they're proving to all of us that they only need us for our information that they can train the AI with, but their ultimate goal is basically to replace us as any semblance of influence, and they want us to just become, basically, in my own words, all-consuming blobs of flesh, where we don't influence anybody, we're just constantly consuming.
Thanks for shining a spotlight on this, Jeff Dornick, CEO of Pickaxe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
When we come back, is the American dream changing? Families are swapping big homes and hustle culture for freedom, flexibility, and happiness. We'll hear from financial expert Lauren Sprung on what's driving this shift after the break.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-360-7824.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
And I knew something was pretty wrong. A little less than a week after I came home, I couldn't breathe. That's when we decided to go to the hospital. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
This could not happen without monthly donations from friends like you. Your sustained support helps fund life-saving research that leads to medical breakthroughs, like those that gave Jen a second chance at life. Heart disease is the #1 killer in America, and we urgently need your help to save lives. Go to helpheart.org or call now to become a monthly donor today. Your donation of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, will make a difference through prevention, early detection, treatments, and cures that help save lives.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association. I'm grateful for just every day that I get with my children.
Please go to helpheart.org or call now with your donation of just $19 a month. Join our community of monthly donors, and you'll get this limited edition t-shirt you can wear to show you're helping save lives.
It's hard to imagine that a mom can die from pregnancy-induced heart failure, but thousands die every year. That's why your support is so urgently needed.
So please, call or go to helpheart.org now to help save lives.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
For generations, the American dream meant more. Bigger homes and non-stop hustle. But today, many families are redefining success, choosing freedom and flexibility. Lawrence Sprung, founder of Midland Financial, spoke with NTD's Stefania Cox to explain this new vision of the American dream.
Nearly half of all Americans say they feel financially insecure. And the numbers do matter, but there's more to this picture of wealth. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think we've seen a bit of a change, especially going through the COVID pandemic. I think there's been an emphasis, money and being financially secure is important by all means, but also having control of your time, making sure you're as healthy as you possibly can, because let's be frank here. If we don't have our health and we don't have time, then that really doesn't mean anything really for the money. So that, I think, has been elevated as we've gone through the COVID pandemic and come out of it.
And so what role does money play in building a wealthy life if accumulation is not the main goal?
Well, I think it's about using it as a tool to free up your time and be able to enjoy and do those experiential things that we want to do as people with friends, family, etc. And what I mean by that is money should be used as a tool to get back time. And we all know that we can't create more time, but we can create more time for ourselves by using that money as a tool to have people do certain things for us, whether it's, clean the house or take care of the lawn, because that will free up that time and we'll get that back to utilize it or redirect it in areas that we want to, whether that's with friends, family, or, just working on passion projects, if you will.
Yeah, and what are you seeing in terms of the trends right now, how Americans are moving towards their goals or a broader sense of wealth right now?
I think what they're doing is focusing, on a balance, right? They know that there's a goal in mind that they need to accumulate a certain amount of wealth, perhaps, for their goals and what they're expecting for the future. But there's also this balance where they want to have experiences and enjoy the time and the life that they have currently. Because, not everybody, my mom passed away at the age of 47. Not everybody has the ability to make it till retirement. So it's about enjoying those experiences. And what we're seeing is, there was a recent study by the University of Texas that indicates that, spending on experiences such as travel, dining, or other cultural events really yields a greater immediate and lasting happiness than buying things.
Fascinating study there. And I'm sorry to hear that about your mom. That's extraordinarily early and a tragedy, and not an uncommon story. So it's a good reminder for everybody about, the shortness of life. And when we're looking ahead at, planning our lives with this kind of wisdom that we're talking about, there is this side that Americans, I think especially, are ambitious. So where are you seeing that sense of striving play out in this new framework for wealth?
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing is people are following things that they're passionate about, right? We all go to college, we get a great education, hopefully, or hopefully you have the ability to do that, and then come out and you pick a career at a very early age. And what happens is people find that they're kind of stuck in that career and they can't get out of it. So what we're seeing a lot of is people are following their passions and creating side hustles where they can focus on that passion. And listen, some people have been very successful in shifting from their regular full-time day job into that passion project and that side gig. And I think people are looking, more so to do that today than just simply, follow the career that they've been in just because that's where they've been. I think there's an element of wanting to be somewhere and doing meaningful work that's going to be rewarding to them.
Yeah, so where can people begin if they want to live a more well-rounded, wealthy lifestyle?
I think you have to have a plan. We talk a lot about planning here. Obviously, that's the crux of our firm, and it's so vitally important. And I think where a lot of financial advisors focus is very heavily on the numerical things. How much am I going to need for retirement? How much do I need to send my kids or grandkids to college? And that's all important stuff. But at the end of the day, it really should be a focus more on that experiential thing. What are these monies? What are you accumulating these monies for? What are your expectations? And have your why of why you're accumulating this money to motivate you each and every day to reach those goals. And we try to remind people, as I shared my story, and I thank you for your kind words about my mom, but I use that as an example because if you're in a situation where you're putting every dollar away for retirement, some retirement that may not come for you, that's not really enjoyable. So the idea is to figure out a way to save for retirement and enjoy life today along the way and find that balance. So find that balance in your plan and get started.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in. Stay with us for NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.